What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video, another weekly review, weekly outlook. I hope everybody's doing well. And just a quick note on this previous week, I was actually on holiday from Wednesday through to Friday. So in terms of accuracy and just my time in the charts, that was a lot less this week. So apologies for all of that, but we're back in the charts as per usual. And yeah, let's get straight into things. So you'll see that we have high impact news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. Very exciting, with non-farm payroll to finish off the week. And we also have jobless claims on the Thursday. So I am expecting a lot of volatility, a lot of movement. Definitely a week to be careful on. I'm probably going to let Monday trade do its thing, especially with it being the first of the month. And then Tuesday, I'll start hunting for potential setups, moving into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So yeah, to say the least, last week wasn't as clean as I wanted. A little bit slow, in my opinion. But generally speaking, this week should be very exciting. So let's go straight over to the charts now. And you'll see that I have dollar up. And you'll see that I also have the 35-year seasonal tendencies for dollar for us to look at first. So you'll see here we have April. And we'll see it's typical for dollar to create a swing high in April and then trade lower, closing on a low in April. So these are the seasonal tendencies. You can get these in my Discord server. You can join it in the link below. But we're obviously moving into April, so we can watch these to figure out, okay, we can expect some kind of rally up at the beginning of the month with the expectation to then trade lower for the rest of the month. Now, obviously, price doesn't have to go, precisely to the seasonal tendency, but it helps us frame some kind of direction and form for the dollar and what to expect. So that's going to be interesting to see. And then here you'll see I've also now delineated the IPTA data ranges starting from the beginning of March. So I've gone back 60 days, 20, 40, 60 days. And then I've also casted forward 20, 40 and 60 days. But before we look at the IPTA data range on dollar, let's go to the weekly. And we should be looking to see what we expect. Considering we're bullish and we can see clear expansion to the upside, we're seeing large up close candles and continued support of bullish PD arrays, for example, this weekly bullish order block. I do want to see another up close candle. So I'm definitely looking at this swing high here from February. And I'd like to see us start to trade into this bearish order block in the new week. So at least now we have some kind of directional bias as to where we want to start to see price trade to. We have a fair value gap down here. Price may want to tap into that first. So we should definitely keep an eye on that. I'll get that drawn out for us. And I'll just keep that like so. So price can very well tap into that. But generally speaking, I would like to think that price will reach for Monday's high. This week's highs. But on the daily, you can now see that we have the IPTA data ranges, and you'll see that we haven't quite traded into the previous period's high yet. So this is definitely a target for price. And then we have a nice daily bearish order block up here at the top of this liquidity void. So we do have a lot of buy side potential on dollar. And then we also now have some sell side targets as well with that fair value gap on the weekly to trade to. But yeah, you can see our price has been just slowly making its way higher. And it'll be nice to see if we can trade into that daily bearish order block. So moving down into a lower time frame, remember this is that weekly fair value gap. I'm going to write that in here. And remember, we're expecting some kind of low to form for us to then trade higher. So I'd like to think that we can trade down into this weekly fair value gap. There's a bullish order block to support that. And then I'll be looking for buys on dollar with the expectation to see some kind of reversal at this point to trade higher and start running for this high right here. And again, into that daily bearish order block. What you'll also find is that there's a breaker. So we have a low, a high, a lower low, and then prices trade into the upside. So this range here, these up close candles, lines up nicely, quite nicely with this weekly fair value gap where we have a bullish order block. But once we drop down to the lower time frames, we'll be able to see in a lot more clear format. So let's now go to the 4 hour, and you can see our price has been trading, kind of just ran up these highs. Last week was very heavily consolidated. We had a holiday. I'm not sure how it impacted things. Happy Easter, by the way. And if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I had my eyes set on this swing low because I was convinced that price is going to want to come and tag that. That bias is still relevant, as in I do still want to see price trade into this low. So I'm definitely going to mark this out as a sell side liquidity target for price for us to potentially create the low of the week. So I'm just going to write out sell side liquidity, and I'm going to make this thick. And then I'll be definitely watching for price to come down there, accumulate stops, sell stops, and then start to trade higher for the rest of the week. Again, running into that buy side target and towards that daily order block that we have up here and fill in this range. So I hope that all makes sense. What you'll also find is that within that weekly fair value gap, we have a 4-hour fair value gap right here, beautifully lined up. So you can see how we have PD arrays which are all overlapping with each other to hopefully increase the likelihood that price is likely going to draw into here. What you'll also see is I've got some dashed lines here and here. What I've done is I've actually graded this swing. So if we look at the low to the high and drag this out, this is the low to the high of the previous period, because remember we start April tomorrow. So I'm looking at the swing low to this high, and I've marked out the midpoint and the 25% level. These levels should be acting as support and resistance. I doubt price needs to come back down into this discount, so preferably price doesn't come back below this low. I'd like to think that price has already done what it needs to do down there. However, price area may well come down below this sell side liquidity I was talking about, trade into this fair value gap where we can hopefully anticipate some kind of reversal to then trade on higher. I am going to drop down to the 1 hour before we move on to GBP. You can see we've just been kind of consolidating, rallied higher, came back, and again I am anticipating some kind of retracement back into this range, into that fair value gap for us to trade on higher. Another thing to take note of is optimal trade entry. So if we look at this swing right here from this low to this high, this is the last significant swing low. Why? It took out sell stops below here. If we look at the swing, we can look at the standard trading range that I have, and you'll see that this fair value gap lines up with optimal trade entry as well. So again, once price starts making its way down here, whether that's on Monday, Tuesday, I want to hunt for some kind of reversal or anticipate some kind of change in the state of delivery. Now, one thing that is driving me a little bit insane is the way that gold has been rallying this week. Gold made new all-time highs, if you didn't know. So you'll see that we traded very aggressively higher last week. The fact that gold's rallying so hard higher, but we're also expecting high dollar, means that eventually I am expecting some kind of, snap into action. And after we've looked at the the seasonal tendencies, and I'll just show you that now, you can see how aggressively bearish it is, and how common it is for April to be a bearish month. So we may see some kind of strong reversal during April, and that's something we definitely need to keep an eye out for moving into that month. So it's going to be quite interesting. But overall, what am I expecting for this week? I'll just draw it out with a quick pathway. So I'd like to just create the low running into Tuesday. And then obviously I'd like to think that we could start to trade higher in towards our target of this buy side liquidity and into that bearish daily order block. Now, depending on how quick price does this, we very may well could reverse at this level and start to trade lower. But right now I'm just focused on, okay, can we grab these sell stops? And then once we don't grab those sell stops, then I'll start hunting for longs. Yes, price can just rally straight up into these highs, and if it does so, that's completely fine. But looking at it, preferably if I was the market, I would probably run lower, run out these sell stops, accumulate some more stops, and then let them go above this swing high. So that's what I pretty much have my eye set on. So that's everything on dollar. I'm now going to head over to GBP. I'm going to start on the daily here. No, we'll start on the weekly even. And that means if we're expecting higher prices on dollar, we should obviously expect lower prices on GBP. So you'll see we've got a nice fair value gap that's formed right here, the same way that we saw that fair value gap form in the discount on dollar. So we can draw that out as a potential draw for price. That's a weekly fair value gap. And then remember, we're expecting these weekly fair value gaps. Yes, we want to see them get traded too, but I don't want to see them get traded through. I want to see them act as resistance for price to send it lower. In terms of sell side targets, we have these relative equal lows below here and here. So I'm going to get those marked out for price. As target, sell side liquidity here. And then obviously we have this level down here as well. And then when we drop down to lower time frames, we should be able to get more specific. Another thing to take note of is there is an inversion weekly fair value gap right here. And that lines up with 50% of this. Let me just show you what I mean. So we've got the middle line of that. And then we have this level right here. Now this should act as resistance. So yes, price can touch into this level, but I want to see it act as resistance. Why? Because I want to see lower prices. So this is the very highest, this fair value gap right here, inversion fair value gap, that is the very highest I want to see price trade before seeing lower prices on pound. So let's go to the daily. You can see we've just been consolidating. We have a beautiful swing high right here that's likely going to get targeted on the daily. So let's just draw that out. So buy side liquidity. And then you'll see a nice daily fair value gap as well, forming inside of a weekly fair value gap right here that again, price will likely want to turn around in or fill before we see any kind of lower prices. So it's nice to see fair value gaps inside fair value gaps. That is definitely something we like to identify. And then in terms of lows from then on, we have these lows down here, but we also have this swing low as a pretty obvious target as well. But you can see how last week we were pretty much just consolidating, a lot of wicks, a lot of back and forth price action, but we want to see us wick higher and then trade lower preferably. Let's go to the 4 hour just to see price. You can see we're in a clear, very clear consolidation. And yeah, to be honest, in terms of setups, it's looking quite nice. We also have a breaker. We have a high. I'm going to look at this high. We've got a high. We've got a low, we got a higher high, and then price is traded to the downside, right? So this last down close candle right here, and this one as well, they overlap. We can drag that out as a potential target for price. And again, that's nicely lined up with our daily fair value gap. So once price starts trading up into this premium, that's when we can start hunting for potential selling opportunities to go short at the same time that we're expecting dollar to be trading lower into its sell side before looking for potential long. So this week should be quite interesting, hopefully quite clean. This is that swing high I kept having my eyes on last week. Again, if you watch my videos, you'll know I was saying I'm not convinced we're done up here. So it's going to be nice to see how price makes its way up there before we potentially see a turnaround in the market. So yeah, let me just check something. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's go to the 1 hour now. And you can see the consolidation in more clarity, a lot of back and forth price action. And this is what I like about consolidations, because it's very clear we're in a consolidation, right? So as soon as we dip outside of it in the opposite direction, that will set us up for a turtle soup, for to be selling above stops with the expectation to run lower. Again, beautiful breaker, high, low, higher high, broke lower. So I'm looking at this range, this last down close candle, to give us a nice selling opportunity, whilst also filling in that daily fair value gap I was talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see what price is doing when we get up here and what time. But like I said, let's say it's 8:30. Let's say it's 8:30 on a Tuesday. We're trading up into this high. That will be probably optimal trade entry for the high of the week to go short with the expectation to run below these relative equal lows, assuming we do trade straight up. These relative equal lows, sell side liquidity, and remember we're going to start digging down into here and here. So it's going to be a very nice week by the looks of things, guys. Definitely stay tuned. Turn on your post notifications so you know what to do. And yeah, there's not really much else more for me to say on that matter with GBP USD. We're going to go to Euro now. And now, if you weren't in my Discord, I've done some live back testing in Discord today at 4 p.m. Every Sunday in Discord, I am back testing. So join the Discord. I'll put it in the events section, and you'll be able to join me every Sunday doing some live back testing. We went into a lot of detail about trading the Asian range and understanding how it forms. So definitely some gems there. But yeah, let's go to the weekly. Obviously, we're expecting higher dollar. So what does that mean? We want to see some kind of lower euro. Now, what you'll find is that euro is a little bit more weaker than pound right now. Yes, we have a fair value gap up here, the same way that we do on pound, but price doesn't need to reach all the way up there. We might find that euro fails to do that, especially since we have an inversion fair value gap. So price shouldn't need to come back up there anyway. So in terms of the high for euro, I'm looking at the midpoint of last week's wick. So let's just get that delineated for us. So I'm looking at this level right here. And this is going to be something I pay attention to. If we trade through this level, I'd then expect us to trade into the weekly fair value gap. But preferably price will only reach into there before we see some kind of, some kind of resistance that's going to send price down towards the sell side. So I'm just going to get these marked out as sell side targets here and here. And then what you'll also find is this lines up nicely with an implied inversion fair value gap. Again, I spoke about this in the live backtesting video that I've done. But price, I want to see price find resistance here. Yes, we can trade through it, and if it does it, so be it. But preferably, I'd like to think that we can see resistance around here. So definitely paying attention to these levels. And if you watch me this week, you'll be able to follow along. So let's now go to the daily. You can see how we've had a nice shift lower. You see how we're closing below these lows? Let me just show you. So we've got a clear close down here. We've got a clear close down here. So we're constantly, digging our way lower. Like price is showing me willingness and respect in bearish PD arrays. Here, we respected a bearish order block here. this bearish order block is lining up with the high, with that level I was talking about. So it'll be nice to see if we can see continued respect of these levels for us to then start running lower. Nice daily fair value gap. Price will likely want to draw into that. And we also have an implied fair value gap just above here. So I'm just going to get that marked out for us so that on the lower time frames we can see if we can find any potential PD arrays that price may want to draw into. So let's go to the 4 hour. And you'll see that lines up with a bit of a consolidation up there. We do have a breaker here, last down close candle for the up move, then we break lower. So this last down close candle, look, it lines up with the 50% level off that weekly wick I was talking about. So it'll be nice to see if price can trade up to here, and then I can start looking for shorts. Preferably we don't take out this swing high. If we take out that swing high, we're going to run for this swing high and likely into this range. And like I said, it can do it, especially if the euro is moving stronger. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. But depending on how weak we are, I'd like to think that this won't get violated. So I'm going to put a little eye emoji above that level, purely because I'd like to think that it would get respected. We can trade above it, and there's going to be stops residing above there. But again, with how we deliver to the downside on euro, price is going to struggle to get up there. So if it does manage to get up there, it's got to be significantly bullish. But anyway, so this is that implied fair value gap I was talking about. Let's see on the hourly, can we see anything? Again, just a bearish order block. Not the cleanest price action, guys. Really not the cleanest price action. But we're just going to have to pay attention. And again, it is only Sunday. Monday, I'm going to let trade. And then obviously Tuesday, I'll start hunting for setups or whatnot. But yeah, overall, same thing. I want to see us create some kind of high. And then midweek, see a nice reversal, New York reversal to send us lower for the rest of the week, running into non-farm payroll, with the expectation for strong expansion, start running low into sell side liquidity here and here. And it'll be interesting as well, because that might be the start of that. That might be the start of that downtrend that we always see happening in the dollar in April. So this month's gonna be very interesting. Definitely stay tuned. Smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, join me in the Discord, follow me on Instagram, and yeah, drop a comment below. I'll reply. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.